thrilled and honored to be here today to have an Eagle project that we're going to hear about and to remember our servicemen who fought for our freedoms, who lived and died for our freedoms, and are buried here in this cemetery as well. So again, we're thankful that you're all come today, and the program will go as follows. We'll first hear a patriotic speaker, Sullivan. Then we get to hear from the Eagle himself, Trey Robison, after which the dedicatory prayer will be offered by Spencer J. Cox, Lieutenant Governor. And then we will have the flag raising ceremony by the VFW Post 9276 Battery D, American Legion Post 4. After which the flag is raised, we will then hear the national anthem being sung by Lydia Madsen.
Lieutenant Governor Cox, welcome home. Mayor, City Council members, fellow veterans, and fellow Americans, everybody who's here today. What a beautiful day, by the way. Isn't this amazing? Fairview is just unbelievable in Sanpete County. We're so lucky to be in this amazing place. I gave this speech a year ago today, actually, and I'm sure these veterans rolled their eyes when they heard I was coming back. They had to endure me 3 times on our roll through Sanpete County last time, and through the stops in North Sanpete, and here we are again. Duty today deserves another medal. Last year I said that my speech wasn't going to be your typical Veterans Day speech, and it wasn't. On that day a year ago, shortly after the election, while thanking the veterans here of Sanpete County, present and past, for their service to the nation, I mentioned that veterans are unique among our great American citizens in having pledged their lives to defend the Constitution and nation. And I also mentioned that we are facing perilous times today, not only because of all the external threats, but also that our nation was facing an ideological civil war. Similar to the time around 1860, just before the original Civil War, and that times were imminent when our commitment and example would again be called upon. Well, watching, as I am sure you have, the events of this past year, how true this has been. We've seen so much. We've seen thousands of players at professional, collegiate, and high school sporting events refusing to stand for the flag and the national anthem, believing them to be symbols of oppression. We've seen the dismantling of memorials emblematic of the founding of our nation for the same reason. We've observed attempts from many sides in varying levels to circumvent constitutional processes and usurp rights that are constitutionally guaranteed. Speakers are prevented from exercising their First Amendment rights, and people seem to have forgotten the important maxim of liberty, that the speech you want to be given the most is the speech that you hate the most. News is manipulated, groupthink is promoted, and original thought is ridiculed or punished. Even worse, terrorist events and shootings occur at almost a daily basis, and we never find out the motives or refuse to face them. The flag, which once seldom stood at half-mast, is almost always now at half-mast. And you start to wonder if the day will someday come when it won't fly anymore. Everything seems to be happening at breathtaking pace, and it can be demoralizing to those who remember America as it has been. If you're like me, you often just look out at the Sanpete sky and are grateful to be able to tune it out with our beautiful wilderness vistas. I mentioned Civil War. It is often taken this way, but it should not be construed as between liberal and conservative. That's a mistaken notion. From its earliest days, America has successfully accommodated a plurality of visions. The genius of our Constitution is that it allows only the best ideas to rise to the top, and no one group has ever held a monopoly on good ideas. The founders were brilliant, and no two of them held the same opinion on almost anything, and the same should be true of us today. The liberal side has given us, among other things, equal rights for all, protected wild lands and an environment to enjoy, and a greater understanding and respect of the world's citizens. Conservatives have helped us to maintain our critical focus on liberty, to strongly defend our nation and freedom around the world, and to preserve the traditional values that are at the heart of America. Because of the Constitution's checks and balances, the tyranny of any one group having too much power is prevented, so that only the best of our collective ideas are implemented. This has resulted in a nation that, while very imperfect, is the greatest hope and success the world has ever known. This is where the veteran, whom we honor today, comes in. No two of you have served the same. Some of you served for a few months, while others a lifetime. Some served in direct combat roles and in frequent harm's way, while others served in support roles far from battle. You served in different services, in different wars, facing different enemies. You are black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, straight, gay, but in the military you were equals. And that to me is one of the greatest things about the military. It has been colorblind and based just on your commitment and ability. And in that scenario, every group has thrived. Some are alive today and standing here, and some are in graves in the cemetery who served long ago. Yes, your circumstances are very different, but it is you, each one of you, among all of Americans' great citizens, and who, by the way, also serve this country in countless vital ways by being fathers and mothers, teachers and workers, public servants and neighbors. But it is you who have bravely sworn to defend the Constitution and the flag, which is the symbol thereof, with your lives. This is what makes you different, what sets you apart, brothers and sisters in arms. And that is why the nation needs you now more than ever. America has grown soft. We are spoiled by our success and have forgotten our founding. When I was a kid, almost every older man I knew was a veteran. My dad, the neighbors, the barber, my teachers, the principal, almost everyone seemed to have served. The man down the street was a POW in Germany. My best friend's dad landed at Incheon. The women, by the way, were Rosie the Riveters, like my mom. Bravery and loyalty were never a question. Let me ask, do we have a World War II veteran here today? Please raise your hand. Doc. Okay. We thank you for your service, sir. And then there was, how about from Korea? Do we have a Korean War veteran today? We thank those great servicemen for their service, and women. Then there was Vietnam. The numbers were fewer, but the sacrifice was very great, and the nation turned its back on them when they came home. And who is here from the Korean War? I'm sorry, from the Vietnam War, I apologize. Whole bunch. Thank you for your service, and for enduring so long without the respect you deserve. There was also the great silent war, the Cold War, which doesn't get as much press, but was crucial to defending this nation, and which saved our necks. And who served during the Cold War? Thank you for your service. With the strength of our great military, the conflicts grew smaller over time. Grenada, Kosovo, Iraq, and our longest war, Afghanistan, Horn of Africa, the ongoing standoff in Korea and other places. And who are veterans from these locales? Thank you for your service. Though their sacrifice and commitment are no less great, comparatively fewer served in these conflicts, so that today just about 1% of the U.S. population has military experience. The power in society that comes from that service and commitment is not what it once was. And that, plus a conscious effort by an unseen force that seeks to undermine this nation and its founding institutions, has resulted in the grave state that we now are in. Well, who is this enemy of today? Of course, there are external threats. You and I can name them. They are many and as threatening as ever. More dangerous, though, is the force within that seeks to replace the America we have pledged to our lives to defend with something else. Weakened and not as bound to our principles as we once were, these forces seem to be gaining ground. And many of our enemies' ground troops themselves don't realize who they are actually fighting for. So you veterans, the 1%, are the most important link America has now to its founding. In a very crucial moment, if you were like me, you would hope to enjoy the satisfaction of having once served and to sail off on a fishing boat into the Sanpete sunset. But having promised to defend the Constitution with our lives, we are still on the hook. This is a call to arms. Not literal arms, but arms of example and action. And that on top of all most of you are doing, with countless funerals and details for the VFW and Legion. Like that first horror night at basic training when you were getting dressed down in front of the Foot Locker, you are going to have to reach inside of yourself, find the courage, and determine your own unique way to keep your oath. I'm no prophet, and like the troops landing at Normandy, I am uncertain of how this chapter of American history will end. But I am sure we will play a big role. It likely won't involve us wearing a helmet again, but it will mean more active roles in our communities and making sure that our family members and others understand what our service meant to us and why we did it. Then there are the rest of you, those who have never served in the military. I have heard complaints from many that disrespecting the flag is a slap to the face of those who have served, and I've also always thought, what about the rest of America? Doesn't the flag, the nation, mean anything to the rest? Is your service less honorable just because you raised 3 children well, taught at the junior high, or volunteered for Sub for Santa? It was once said that it takes a village, and it does. This nation takes every one of us. If we don't have each other, we are nothing. Today on this Veterans Day, we who are veterans also salute all of you fellow Americans who stand with us to serve our nation and community. You will play an equally important role in this next chapter of American history. Thank you again for this opportunity today. God bless our great nation, and I am glad that I can still say this, the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you all for coming out today. It has been an honor to be able to do this project. Our veterans sacrificed so much for our freedom, and this project seems so small to what it truly represents. My great-grandpa served in the Army in World War II. I remember going to his funeral as a young boy and watching the 21-gun salute. At the time, I didn't completely understand what it was, but I knew that it was something honorable and important. Later, I remember growing up listening to bits and pieces of stories from my grandpa, who served in the Vietnam War. I started to gain an understanding of what it meant to be a veteran. I realized that there are men and women fighting for my freedom. Yesterday, we had an assembly in school about Veterans Day. There was a phrase that kept popping up, free to be. I kept trying to finish the sentence, but the sentence didn't need to be completed. We are free to be. Unlike many other countries around the world, we are blessed to live in a country that we can make our own choices, to believe in what we want to, and to get up and to act upon what we believe in. When thinking about what Eagle Project I could do, honoring our veterans was the first thing that came to my mind. After talking to Councilman Wheeler and the City Council, this is the project that was created. City workers and Fairview Second Ward Young Men's first help started this project by leveling out the ground for the pathway. After donations and time and materials, the pathway began coming together. Diana Compton got us a list of the names of the veterans here in Fairview Cemetery, and that is on the sign to my left. This list helped complete the display with their names. Soon after, the flagpoles came up and brought the project together. Generous donations from local people made this project possible. Many memories were made because of their contributions, and I'm sure there will be more to come. Thank you to all who have helped make this possible, and most of all, thank you veterans for your service.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here today. On behalf of Governor Herbert, I want to thank all of the veterans who are here today with us, and I'm so excited for Trey and this project. Trey came and talked to me, came and met with me at my house and told me what he he was planning on doing. When I was a kid, when I was about 12 years old, Jeremy Madsen and I started playing the trumpet, and we played taps here for all of the funerals, for all of the graveside services, for the veterans that were buried in the cemetery. It was a really unique opportunity as young men to be able to do that. But we noticed that there was no flagpole here in the cemetery at that time, and so for my Eagle project, we got really ambitious and we put in this flagpole right here, and it stood alone for a long time. And Trey, you've done a little bit better job than I did. This is unbelievable, and we're so proud of you and your choice to do this, and want to thank you for having the foresight to make this happen, and thank you for the invitation to offer a special dedicatory prayer. So let us pray. Our gracious Father in heaven, humbly this beautiful morning, we bow our heads in gratitude for the bounteous blessings that are ours as we gather together here in the valley of the Sandpitch overlooking the town of Fairview. We give thee thanks for the men and women who settled this valley, and especially at this time for the brave men and women who have served in the armed forces of the United States of America. We recognize on this Veterans Day these men and women who are here in our presence and those who have passed on before us. And we give thee all the thanks for the freedoms which we have, that they have worked so diligently to preserve. We love them, and we recognize their sacrifice and the sacrifice of their families, the sacrifice of their loved ones, and their willingness to put their lives in harm's way to protect us and to give us the freedoms that we so enjoy. Father, we also recognize at this time that there are men and women serving in harm's way overseas who are protecting us from evil forces who are conspiring to destroy liberty and destroy freedom, not just here but across the world. We ask that thy choicest blessings will be poured out upon them, that they will know that their service is not in vain. Please protect them, keep them safe, and help them to find those who are destroyed by whom. Father, we ask a special blessing to be upon this next generation. We're grateful for Trey, for his understanding of his place in history, of his willingness to give back to the community, and of his gratitude for those that have served and sacrificed. We pray that that same spirit will be poured out upon this next generation, that they too will come to an understanding of the founding of this nation, the liberties that we enjoy, the peacefulness that is ours because of the sacrifices and the loss of so many. Will thou help them to understand that liberty does not come free, that freedom requires a price, and that they too must serve, must give back, and must find ways to protect the Constitution of this land so that it may reign not just now but forever. Now, Father, we are so blessed to live where we live and when we live, but we recognize that there are enemies, foreign and domestic, who would take these things away from us. We pray that we will come together as a community, that we will work together to lift those who are downtrodden, those who are struggling, that we will find ways to work together even when we have disagreements. We ask a blessing to be upon our president, to be upon all those who are making decisions that will impact our country, and especially the brave men and women who are serving this day. Might they have wisdom, might they have guidance from on high to know when and where to fight and when it is necessary to not fight, so that the people may be protected. Give us the courage to stand as those before us have done. And again, please bless those veterans and those that are serving now and those who will serve in the future, that they will be able to remember that they stand on the shoulders of those who have served before them. General Washington and that Continental Army, who, against all odds, gave us this nation. Of the Union Army, President Lincoln, and all those who guided them to preserve this nation. Those who served in World War I and World War II against tyranny. And please bless those who are still with us, who served in so many other conflicts. Korea and Vietnam, those who served in the Middle East, and those who are serving now. We love them. We recognize them for all that they have done. May this hallowed ground we dedicate this time be a place of peace, a place of refuge, a place of contemplation, and a place to remember. We dedicate this spot here in this cemetery that all who come here will find peace, that all who come here will remember why they are here and the people that gave us this peace and this safety and this freedom. We ask these things humbly and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Third fire, 3 rounds, blank, ammunition, ready, and fire, and fire, and fire, reset, or. Order, R. Color guard, post. Order, R.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land